Darla Cansell, real estate agent in South Louisiana with Real Broker. I've had lots of inspections over the last 6.5 years, well over 400 inspections, and as you know, in Louisiana, insects are rampant. A WDIR stands for Wood Destroying Insect Report. So things like termites, of course, powder post beetles, any kind of insect that can damage wood. All right. So as a buyer, it is your right during what's called your due diligence and inspection period. Once you go under contract, you have the right to have your home that you're buying, the home that you're buying, inspected, of course, by an inspector, but you also have the right to have it inspected by a I call them termite companies, but of course they're not just termite companies, they're pest control companies, right? So companies like J&J, Guarantee, Orkin, E&R out of Eunice is one of my top favorites because it's a little mom and pop company. Father and son company actually started in Eunice a few years ago, and they about, I don't know, 4 years ago, I had a home, $500,000 home under contract. I represented the buyers. We get to the house for the inspection. There was a fresh report on the island. I'm not going to name names of who had done it, but a different insect inspection company had this house under contract for years and years and years with the sellers. They had just given a clear report that there was no wood destroying insects at this home. Ernie, who's the main owner of E&R out of Eunice, pulls up to the house, walks up to the back door, moves a huge potted plant away from the back door, and crawling out of the cement, there was a crack in the cement on the back patio, a trail of termites going into the home. So he inspects the home very thoroughly, gets to the master bathroom, pulls the bath traps away from the bathtub, and we don't even know how that bathtub had not caved in because the whole entire underneath was nothing but swarming live active termites under the bath traps of the master bath. And I'm talking a $500,000 beautiful, gorgeous brick home that you would never in a million years would have thought would have live active termites, right? Especially because it was currently under contract with a insect company, a huge popular insect company. Needless to say, anytime I represent buyers, I say to them, you absolutely want to not only have it inspected by an inspector, you want to have an inspection done by an insect company to look for any kind of insects that could be destroying the wood. And so, because they saved the day on that house, actually, I use E&R a lot. I also use J&J sometimes. I use Orkin sometimes. Sometimes the inspector recommends other companies, and it depends on the area. But E&R is absolutely on the top of my list simply because they saved the day on that deal. All right, so back to it. If you are a buyer and you are buying a home that is on piers and you want to have a wood destroying insect report, which means they are going to inspect that home from top to bottom and underneath, your number one question is going to be, will the inspector crawl underneath the entirety of the home that they're able to crawl under? Sometimes those spaces are not accessible, but if it's a house on piers, will they crawl the underneath as much as humanly possible to check for any kind of wood destroying insects? When I was a brand new realtor, used an inspector quite often because he had been recommended by another realtor friend of mine. I used him quite often. One day he gets to a house, it had rained, and so the underneath of this house on piers was full of water underneath the home, and he did not want to get dirty. He says to me, "I am not crawling under that house." Needless to say, he never inspected another home for me. So if you're inspecting a home on piers, you're going to get 2 crawl throughs underneath. At least you should. Of the inspector, number 1, and when they're under there, they're going to see if there's any kind of evidence of past wood destroying insects, or if there's anything currently alive, right? And then the termite company is also going to crawl underneath, and also we'll have another set of eyes to see what the underneath looks like. Lots of times, especially if a house was built, I would say in anything earlier than the 80s, there's going to be lots of past damage, right? So powder post beetles bore holes into wood, so do carpenter bees, and termites eat wood. So there could be lots and lots of past damage with the house on piers. And so it is the inspector's job to determine, is the past damage so bad that it's causing a structural issue with the home? The inspector from the termite company's job is to determine, is the damage, is it current, is it active, or is it past, right? Listen, do not ever assume, if you're in Louisiana, that a house cannot get termites, carpenter bees, powder post beetles, anything like that. I have represented the buyer of a beautiful brick home. This is a different home, not this other one I just talked about, but a different home. This one was priced at around $350,000 just south of Iowa. This home had no trees or bushes around it. It had very, very little landscaping. It is not a home in a million years I would have thought would have termites. So of course the inspector, anytime they see live, active, any kind of wood destroying insects, they will call me over and show them to me. So in those weep holes, around a brick house, there are those little slashes along the bottom of the house, and they're called weep holes. He shined his flashlight into one of those weep holes, and sure enough, there were live termites in some of those weep holes. Again, a house that if I had bet on it, I would have said there's no way this house has termites. None. This house was immaculately taken care of. There was no reason to believe that there were termites, live active termites. Why do you need to know this as a seller? Because as a seller, you want to know before a buyer ever finds out if you have live active termites. If you are a current owner of a home and you have never had your home inspected, or you've never had it under contract, and especially if you have trees and bushes and landscaping around your home. Listen, if you know where I live, I do not have a whole lot of big trees around my house because I built my house in 2011 in the middle of a rice field, right? So the trees that I have planted are never going to be big enough to be close to my house, really. But I have landscaping, and every single season I add more and more and more and more mulch. Well, decaying wood is a known attractor for termites. And so I always have my house under a termite bond, which means that my termite company comes and they check those traps regularly, and they make sure that I do not have termites. If you're in South Louisiana, or probably anywhere in Louisiana, I would suggest that you have your house under some kind of termite bond, which means they come and they treat it and they make sure that your house doesn't get termites. As the buyer, it is absolutely your right to have it inspected, and then if the house that you're buying ends up having a problem with some kind of wood destroying insect, you then get to decide what to do next. And listen, There's lots and lots of times that we've found wood destroying insects at a home, and they are treatable. They are absolutely treatable. The damage is always repairable, of course, right? And so I would recommend, if you're a buyer, if you're having your house inspected, the inspector's probably going to ask you, included in the inspection, do you want a wood destroying insect report, which means a wood destroying insect inspection done? Yes, you do. And if it's a house on piers, you want to say, number one, are you as the inspector crawling underneath that home? And is the termite company crawling underneath that home? The answer should be yes to both. If not, look for somebody else, right? There are plenty of them. So WDIR stands for Wood Destroying Insect Report. If you are a buyer, you absolutely want one every single time. Unless it's a brand spanking new house. If it's a brand spanking new house, it has already been done when they poured the slab, and it's good for at least a year. And then you should keep up the contract, right? Or find a different company to get you one after that year is up. Y'all have a great day. Remember, in real estate, there are no stupid questions. Ask all your hard questions. If you have any questions for me, you can text me or call me anytime. I'd love to answer them. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Y'all have a great day. Take care.